Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
Why, mate? Come on, Sam.
Hey, I'm here, mate. How you doing? Lovely to see you. We can't stop and talk because obviously Terry will be waiting to be interviewed, our guest.
Well. I was wanting to speed up because we've got a guest and we can't wait. But Terry, you sure?
Well, I mean, I'm just making an assumption, mate. But we've now had 3 guests called Terry. Therefore, surely all our future guests are going to be called Terry as well. It's a safe bet, right?
Well, what evidence do you base that on? And I know, knowing Sam Dunning, you will have a list to prove evidence to prove this.
I may have done a little bit of looking back over. So we have had 3 guests called Terry. Interestingly, 2 at once. We had Terry Burns and Terry Gauci both at the same time, and then obviously the wonderful Terry Hayden a couple of weeks ago. But we have also had 2 Daves and a David, a James and a Jamie, a Patrick and a Paddy, whose real name is actually Patrick, a Nick and a Nicholas, 2 Reeses, 2 Simons, 2 Toms, 2 Sams, and me.
And me. Brilliant. I love that. I love the fact that you have actually, worked all that out, mate. That was probably one of your finest segues. Brilliantly done.
It was a segue that wasn't a segue, but somehow has related
somehow has moved us into our guest this
exactly.
This
On a serious note, before we do get to that, how are you? Are you well? Have you been busy?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to get a little bit boring saying this, but it is the big build. It is the big run up to Christmas. Couple of gigs in the interim, just little one-nighters, but yeah, it is the big Halloween and Christmas slog now. So all good fun, but yeah, full on.
Halloween must be done now because I've just finished tour, you've just finished Halloween, and now
we've been. That's what my last week was, the Halloween.
Yes. So it's all a bit mental, isn't it? All this going on, and we're obviously recording a couple of days before we actually go out to feed that in, and it's very much a management thing. And as I said, I've managed to finish my tour, which was great, and now we've got this coming and Christmas, and I start Panto in December, but then I've got some gigs in between that as well. So yeah, it's a busy old one for both of us.
Old one.
To steer it right back on track, we are still managing to podcast as much as possible, and equally, we're still managing to bring in top quality guests, including our visitor today, who surprisingly enough is not scary, but more importantly, he is here, and what better way to carry on than to bring him in? So, ladies and gentlemen, meet my good pal, very talented stunt performer, Mr. Gareth Locke. And there he is, joining us today, Drewling Samantics viewers and listeners, is the wonderful, very, very talented Mr. Gareth Locke. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. I'm very well, thank you. A bit tired, a bit sore, but all good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, very well. And we've explained the tired and sore. We will come to that. There is a reason for that. It's not some weird kind of story that we don't want to go into. It's all part and parcel of, mainly the reason you're here, I guess. Gareth meet Drew meet Gareth. Obviously, know a lot about each other, but haven't had the opportunity to meet yet. So this is lovely. And speaking of not meeting, obviously our lovely listeners and viewers haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, Gareth. So can you do us the honour of explaining to all of them who you are, what you do, and why you're here?
Of course. Well, I'm Gareth Locke. I'm a stunt man training for the British Stunt Register. I do special action work, stunt work on films, TV, and live shows as well. Basically, I fall over for a living is really the way to describe it.
Hence the tired and impact.
The tired and the sore and everything else. Yeah.
Wow. And so it's we've been lucky enough to have the wonderful Mark Johnston, who you know as well, on the show before, who runs his own independent stunt company. But as you mentioned there, you are training for BSR, British Stunt Register, which is perhaps we would say that it's the conventional way. It's the way that
Yeah.
the part of the stunt world that most people might have heard of. So yeah, it's something that you've been doing obviously for some time, a background in various things that connect to that. But can you sort of explain why you made the jump, or what made you want to go into stunt performing in general?
I think I've always loved kind of action work, and I did start out as an actor, and I just loved acting, mocap and sword fighting and firearms handling for theatre and for film was always like, oh, that's really fun. And then COVID happened, obviously, which stunk. So there was no live theatre at all, no filming as well. There was just nothing. And I got really fortunate when COVID ended that I got invited to come onto a job at SAS Rogue Heroes, and I got to do a whole bunch of action work on that. And I'd never even heard of the Stunt Register at this point. I knew it was kind of a thing, but I had no idea about it. I met some people on there who were training for it, and I got to chatting to them, and I just kind of said, yeah, this is awesome. And we basically spent a month on this job, getting shot, blasted up, chucked around, a bit of like extra work, a bit of action work, and a bit more heavy action work. But I was like, oh, I could do this every day for the rest of my life. Like, this is fun. And then I started training from there. I had loads of work. I'm really, really fortunate in 2021 and beyond, and just kept training, kept doing more silly things, really. And now I'm always bruised and walking with a limp, but
So, I mean, we've chatted to a couple of stunt people on here, and I mean, it is there are many ways into every aspect of the business, but getting on the stunt register, that's a serious thing, and it takes a deal of time. And just to refresh my memory as well as our listeners and viewers, what are you actually training for, and how long can it, how quickly? What are the disciplines that you have to work on? Because it's an extremely serious undertaking.
So the quick blurb is that you have to get 6 disciplines to an athlete level. So a martial art, you have to get to like a black belt or a brown belt. I think with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they say blue or purple, maybe. I can't remember the order of it. But yeah, and then for something like climbing, you have to become an RCI. And then with other ones like swimming, trampolining, high diving, you actually go and take a test. So you have to prepare yourself all in your own time, all off your own back, fund it yourself. Then go to a location, go to the stunt test and do it there, and hopefully you pass. Maybe you don't. But it's the kind of thing. It's going to take you as long as it takes you. I think some people it can take years, and some people who have a gymnastics background can smash it out in a year. You come in with a great gymnastics parkour background, you'll have no trouble at all getting half your disciplines already ticked off. And if you've done martial arts since you were a kid, you're basically on it already. But yeah, I think it's expensive, obviously, because you've got to fund it all yourself. But also, it's the kind of thing you have to really want it. You can't just, I might want to be a stuntman, or I want to be an actor, but I'll do stunts as well. Like, I think if you want to be on the British Stunt Register and you want to be like one of the best stunt people out there, you have to really push yourself as hard as you possibly can. And acting and performing is a huge part of it. And you have to take you have to go to like an acting class now for the British Stunt Register and do a few extra things as well. Because it is at the end of the day, you're a stunt performer. You're not just a bag falling around. You've got to act, you've got to perform. You could be doing all sorts of things, as well as getting set on fire, run over by a car, or whatever else you do, whatever silly things you're doing. So yeah, I think it's a long process, but it's a good one, and it is really rewarding as well. Just being able to continually drive and see improvement in so many skills is really satisfying. I'd say.
Yeah.
Once you've gone, sorry, Sam.
No, that's all right. I was just going to say, so you obviously mentioned you have to officially qualify for the British Stunt Register. You have to have those 6 disciplines, which come from a list of, I think there's 30 or 40 total, aren't there? There are lots of different routes you can go, and various different, because obviously martial arts are so broad, there are lots of different routes you can take there. Which are the 6 specifically that you are training in or hoping to achieve?
So my martial art is kickboxing, but alongside kickboxing, I do taekwondo and jiu-jitsu as well. Because I've done jiu-jitsu since I was a kid, and my kickboxing gym has taekwondo classes. So I thought, well, knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, huh? Then on top of that, I'm doing trampolining, high diving, horse riding. I've lost count. And then climbing, which I might swap out for scuba or rally driving as well. I think was that 5 or 6? I lost count. But we'll add those together. You can tell I wouldn't be a terrible accountant, wouldn't I?
But
but
that's why you're doing this, so it's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't worry about accounts in this respect. So some really, really different routes to take there. Obviously, a lot of
absolutely
do lend to each other, and you mentioned before gymnastics, which is a good one for flexibility, which then leads into things like trampolining. Trampolining then leads into high diving. High diving has a connection with swimming, so they do all often have a connection. But then to throw in something like horse riding or rally, slightly different route to go, and it's fair to say probably the most expensive route to go if you're going to do it.
Absolutely, yeah. Rally driving, I think, is the single most expensive, but of course it is, because what you're expected to be able to do behind the wheel of a car, it's a lot. You've got to be able to do it well. You can't just, I can drive fast. You've got to be able to drive fast and put the car in the right place, same place every time in a row, without crashing into all the other cars that are right next to you, which is not easy, and you have to train hard for that. You have to go. So now they have it at Drive Tack, I think, which run these courses up there, and they are, from what I've heard, are absolutely fantastic. So of course it's going to be expensive. Cars are expensive, especially if you had to smash one up or something. It's and horses as well, obviously, because horses are really expensive to train. They're really expensive to raise and just keep, and they're very prone to injury all the time. So. But I since starting horse riding, because I'd never done it before, and I think that's the one I've probably taken to the most, and I really didn't think I would. I was never going to do it originally, and I ended up getting on a horse basically out of happenstance. I thought, oh, this is awesome. So if you're not sure what one you want to do horse riding. It's great.
Is there once you will always continue to train. You will. I mean, we know you have to. You cannot sit still, because technology changes, the demands of the industry, the film industry change all the time. Is there any way you would want to specialize? You would say, actually, I'm gonna do the riding, or I'm gonna do the climbing, or is it to keep yourself broad, a broad aspect, and keep? I mean, obviously, we all want to work because of what we do.
Yeah.
But is there a special field that you think, actually, that's me? I'll lock in that one.
Obviously, your big bread and butter of stunts is fighting and falling. You've got to be able to fight, and you've got to be able to fall over. But I absolutely adore, particularly historical sword fighting. Anything medieval or Renaissance kind of period is absolutely, I just love it. And I think that comes from my actor's background and Shakespeare and stuff, and it's all. But as well, since doing horse riding, I would love to take that, to see how far I can get that into stunts. And actually, a little side thing I do is I do a bit of circus performing, like fire and acro doubles and stuff. So I have been really fortunate that I've done a few courses and training sessions with fire burns. I've been set on fire a few times, once by Mark, who you had on the show. And that's really fun. It's really, really good fun. And everyone always looks at you like a lunatic when you say, oh, I want to get set on fire. But I think if I had to pick one, fighting horses, medieval fighting, stick me everything in that, anything and anything I can do as a knight or as a Viking or something, that's me all over.
Incredible. And so, and I realise that I'm about to ask a question that you probably can't answer a great deal, but you have a love for what you do, because it's something you've trained in, something you have a passion for. But equally, there must be that thrill of being involved in, like any of us in the performance world get, being involved in something big, something. It's not about name dropping, but we do all enjoy being able to go, I was part of that. Now, I'm anticipating you're going to go, yeah, loads of stuff, can't tell you any of it. Can you give us a few examples potentially of stuff that our wonderful listeners and viewers will have seen, and may have, if they watch again, may be able to go, oh look, that's Gareth getting his head chopped off.
Unfortunately, some of the biggest stuff I have worked on has been quite recent, so I am still under non-disclosures for that. But some stuff I can talk about, Marvel's Secret Invasion. I was a special action performer on that, so it wasn't quite stunts, but we were there for 4 weeks in the rain, in the mud, blasting weapons, getting blown up, explosions going off. The stunt guys were flying around on wires. And as well, I think as a special action performer, when you're there and you're training for stunts, getting to be around stunts is such a good opportunity. You get to see how it works. You get to see, you kind of go, oh, how did he handle the wires there? What are they doing there? And also, you do get to be on a big film set. You know, you get to be on a really cool, you know, a Marvel series, you know, and also did SAS Rogue Heroes, as I think I said earlier, which is a World War II, you know, awesome production. And it's really just, especially when you're on a job with your mates and you kind of turn and go, oh, you're here, you know, and you're just having a real giggle for 4 weeks, even though it's -4 degrees and it's raining and you're cold and you're miserable, but really you're just having such a great time because you've got a bunch of idiots around you who are giggling at stupid jokes.
I was going to say that, I mean, we know that, you know, that you say, I'm a stunt performer, action performer, whatever. Everyone goes, that's a dangerous job to do. Mm. And we know the risk. We all recognize the risks of that, you know, and particularly the performers themselves are going to go, yeah. But there are other, like, it's the things that, you know, and we all go, oh, it's lovely to be on a big film set. It's great, you know, when you're filming, whatever you're doing. And it is a perceived as a glamorous lifestyle and a glamorous job to do. However, and, you know, yeah, like you said, you mentioned, it rains. It's you know, you are in, you know, like you say, you like being, you know, like the burns and that. There are special equipment, things you do that are not comfortable. These are not, you know, comfortable situations. I mean, what, you know, give us an example of like being somewhere and going, okay, this is going to be great when it's finished. We'll have a beer with the boys, but during the day, this is a pain in the ass, literally, maybe, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there are so many, because of course, you know, we live in England. England's a cold and wet country, and it always ends up that you'll be filming scenes that are shot in summer in the middle of winter. I don't know how it happens, but it happens on every job, and you'll be frozen to the bone. It'll be pouring down with rain. You'll be wearing shorts and a t-shirt, and you'll just kind of sit there and you wonder, oh, is this really? But I think that's also like where the camaraderie comes in. You know, you're all going through it. You're all in the mud. You're all in the rain. You're all in the snow. You're all cold. You're all miserable. You all really just want another cup of tea. You're all up at 2 o'clock in the morning, tired and sleepy, and you're shivering because you're so cold. But that's part of it, you know. And a lot of people think, oh, it's so glamorous, you know, the Hollywood lights. No, most of the time, unfortunately, you're going to be cold and you're going to be wet and you're going to be standing around and you're going to be bored. It's just the honest truth of the industry, because there's a million things that have to be done, and that's the way it goes, you know. So make sure, just be friendly and make friends with everyone, and all that boredom and all that miserable stuff goes by a lot easier.
It's taking the rough and the smooth, isn't it? And I guess that kind of transfers into the training element as well, because with anything you do, the build up tends not to be as fun as the final product. So, for example, on the rally training, at the end of the day, you get to race cars around a track at some point, and you get to smash into other people, and you get to do these incredible sort of driving sequences. But equally, there's the repetition of going out. Perhaps I've done little bits in rally, as you may know, and sort of the skid pan days and the sort of the theory behind stuff, which can be fairly repetitive. And as you say, you've been training martial arts all your life, and just because the final product on screen is this amazing fight scene with people being flipped over shoulders and thrown through windows and stuff, doesn't mean that the hard graft hasn't gone in, and the repetition, doing a certain move 10, 20, 30,000 times to get it absolutely spot on. What is there one, and feel free not to answer, but is there one particular thing that you found massively challenging about this process, maybe in a certain discipline or maybe across the board?
I think it's just something, you have bad days, you know, especially when you're training, is you have days where horse riding is a really good example, because I'm still quite new to it. I'll get on a horse and I just won't be able to get the horse to canter, and which is really frustrating. You said, I could do it so well last week, and this week I just can't do it. And I think that's probably the worst part of it, is you'll have these days where you just can't think, I suck. You'll come out of training, you think, I absolutely suck. I couldn't do, on my trampoline, I couldn't do good flips. I was tumbling all over the place. I couldn't control myself. I couldn't do any nice entries on high diving. You know, I couldn't control the horse today. My punches were lazy. You know, I got beaten up in sparring, you know, and you kind of sit there. And I think that is the hardest part, is it's the graft, it's the training, but it's also being able to say to yourself, actually, well, you're going to have bad days. You're working so hard, and it's such a physical job, that there are some days where you're not going to do as well, and that's okay. You know, there are days where it's going to hurt more and it's going to go wrong a little bit, and you've just got to say, well, as long as I'm not injured, as long as I don't hurt myself really badly, then I can keep going. I'll pick myself up and I'll do it again tomorrow.
Well,
Which I think is most important.
It's those days that you have that you work those out of the system, don't you? Because they can't happen on set.
Exactly.
They've got to happen in the gym. They've got to happen in in the paddock or wherever, or on a cinder track or something. You got to get those out of your system because they can't happen on the set.
Exactly.
And it's. I forgot my point now. I mean, but I mean, it is that I mean, I was going to say that there was a saying years ago. Someone asked me, what do you think is the difference between an amateur and a professional? Somebody said an amateur is someone who works until they get it right. Professional, and I think it's particularly pertinent to stunt work. Professional works until they never get it wrong, and that's. I know I've always said that because I mean, I've got great admiration for people who work as amateurs, and love what they do. But you get to a certain point, I don't think there's anything more important, on a more pertinent than to stunt people. We work until we can't get it wrong. We've got this stunt. There are millions of dollars being spent on this movie. We're a huge part of this. We can't fuck this up. We've got to get it right.
Exactly.
For many, many reasons, not only for safety, but for financials. It's. Do you have? Yeah, sorry, you're going to say, Gareth.
Oh, especially on these like big stunts where, as a performer, you're getting paid quite a bit to do them. You're expected to get it right the first time. So you've got to make all the mistakes in the rehearsal. You've got to make all the mistakes in the gym. You can't have, because everyone's looking at you. At the end of the day, everyone's sitting there is going to go, that's not so hard. That's the job. You've got to make them sit and think, yeah, that's not so. And if everyone thinks that, that's good. If everyone sits there and thinks, oh my God, who's this idiot? We need someone else. Then that's a problem. You got to make it look effortless, everything, whether you're falling or you're getting hit by something, you got to make it look like, it didn't hurt, easy peasy. Anyone can, anyone can do it. Of course they can't. But if they sit there and they're going, oh, that looked like it hurt. He might, we got it wrong again. We've got to go again and again and again. That's kind of when you're kind of going, oh, and people start sitting there and going, why are we paying this person so much money if they can't get it right? Sorry, you were going to say something else, Drew, so I cut you up as well.
No. I was saying, what do you think of because of that pressure? What do you think of actors that do their own stunts? I mean, do you think it's a good thing, bad thing?
Oh, I think it's a really tricky question because I think a lot of actors, some actors, particularly who haven't had much experience with stunts, they kind of romanticize it a little bit,
right?
And some actors who have had a lot are really capable. You've got some incredible actors who can do spectacular stunts. But what I say to people is, I say, well, it's my job. It's our job. It's as stunt performers. Let us do it, please, because we've been training hard for it. We know what we're doing, and it's not to show you up. It's not that you can't do it. It's that if we get hurt, we're a bit more replaceable than a lead actor. At the end of the day, it's but if a lead actor wants to do their own stunts and they're really good at it, then by all means, go ahead. Let them do fight scenes. Let them do chucks around. And I mean, Tom Cruise does some spectacular stunts. And at the end of the day, he's his own producer. He puts his money where his mouth is, so you can't really fault that. If it all goes wrong and he hurts himself, it's his money that it's going to lose. But yeah, I think I wouldn't say it's a bad thing for an actor to want to do stunts, but also I would always say you want to be the best at what you do, not try and be good at a little bit of everything. If you want to be a really good actor, be a really good actor. If you want to be a really good stunty, be a really good stunty. Because acting is really hard, and so is stunting. That's things that you could spend your whole life working on those crafts to take them to a good level. Do you really want to mix both of them? Maybe you do. But for me personally, I would say I want to keep it separate. Keep acting separate from stunts. This would be my take on it, at least.
So delving into that slightly a bit further, because obviously you're a trained actor as well as being a stunt person. What's your pathway now? Where do you see yourself? What's the target, I guess? Would you phase out acting completely to be a full-time stunt performer, or would you actually like to get to the level in stunting where you can then go, I will do lead roles as well and be able to add that in?
Well, that's a hard question. I love acting. I love performing, but stunting, I think, is where my heart is. And of course, there is always a performance aspect to stunts. You're going to be getting hurt. You've got to sell all those reactions. But I think like the shows I do with you, Sam, like the comedy shows, the little bits, that's the kind of acting that I really like. Something that's a bit more personal, a bit smaller scale, something where you can just have a bit of fun with it. And I think for me, the dream for me is just to go, I just want to do these big gags on film sets, getting beaten up as a stunt performer, falling off of horses, hit by cars, set on fire, swinging swords. That's what I love doing more than anything else in the world. And being an actor alongside that would be great, but I would be more than happy to just get killed over and over again.
Amazing.
I love it. I mean, it is. I mean, when you're working you're working extremely hard, you train extremely hard. It's a very, very, I tip my hat to any stunt performer. I've been on a few sets. I've watched a few very simple things. I mean, I did an episode of Pennyworth a little while back, watching two female wrestlers who were, I mean, watching these girls, they were incredible, and I was just knocked out. And then they just sort of sat down and said, "Okay, we do this weekend, and how are the kids and that sort of thing." So my question was, what do you do to take yourself away from that? Because surely you must have to get out of that headset occasionally and go, "I need to blow off steam," or do you stay on it all the time?
Oh, I think because stunting is so physical, I think naturally any stunt performance, when you're falling, fighting, riding, trampolining, high diving, gymnastics, whatever you're doing, it already gets so much of that build up out of you, And I think as well, just the more you do it, the more used you get to just performance brain, non-performance brain, you kind of just switch it off and be like, yeah, cool, right, what are you doing later? You want to get a cup of tea, and yeah, I think you just get used to just that relaxed. But I like to paint, so alongside all this stunt work, every now and then I'll just sit down and I like to paint something, just because it's something to relax. I'm not particularly good at it, but it's nice just to have a hobby where I can just sit still for an hour.
It's the complete opposite, isn't it? Really, that patience and sort of relaxed atmosphere compared to the high octane level of stunting. How often do you get to have sort of downtime like that? Because in fact, I suppose what the actual question to ask is, what's your schedule and your routine like? Because you've got these 6 disciplines, you're constantly training in order to finally tick them off and to get that holy grail of being a fully fledged member of the BSR.
Yeah.
How do you fit that in during a week? What's your week sort of look like?
Oh, so I'm really fortunate that I make all my money off of performing. So I don't have to have a day job, which I'm very, very, very fortunate with. I know that a lot of performers can't say that. So hats off to any performer who is working, I would say, harder than me, having to do a day job and then coming to all of this. But I try to get as much sessions in as the day as I can. So like today, I've just done a kickboxing lesson. Straight after this, I'll be off trampolining. Then I'll probably pop to the gym and have high diving this evening to try and fit as much as I can. And then tomorrow Wednesday, so I'll do kickboxing in the morning. I'll pop to the gym again and then do taekwondo in the evening, and then Thursday will be kickboxing again, trampolining again, and you just keep going. You find a routine that fits for you. And some people like to do one skill, tick it off, and then leave it behind. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just not the way I like to do it. I like to have all my fingers in all the pies, just because I think if I did one skill constantly, I'd just get a bit too tunnel vision and I'd get too frustrated and too bored, and you start to kind of get a bit of burnout from it. Whereas changing up for me helps keep every exercise fresh. It means I'm going to take longer to do them, but it helps me keep invested and keep like, oh yeah, actually I really want to go horse. I'm really excited to go horse riding again because I only get to do it once a week instead of two or three times a week. And finding downtime again, because I'm very fortunate, I make all my money off performing. When I'm not working, I get a few hours between training where I can just sit down, chill, relax. And also I relax by going to the gym. Like I relax by working out. I find it all the stress, all the worry, all the, oh, go away, the next job, but it's, go throw some heavy weights around, go chuck yourself on a trampoline or throw some punches at some stranger you've never met, just helps. I find it just really helps. That's my relaxing, I like to be on the go constantly. So
I think if there's ever an example of a mindset that is destined to do what you're trying to do, your downtime is doing the thing that you're gonna do as a job. Well, again, take my hat off to you, like Drew said. I mean, a lot of our listeners know I did little bits for the Stunt Register. I did my swim test, and I was looking into some of the other disciplines, a bit of driving, things like that. It is absolutely full commitment or not at all. And
Yeah.
I discovered very quickly that because I guess my main passion, or my initial passion, was always stage acting, to take that on and give that as much commitment as it needed, I couldn't realistically become a member of the British Stunt Register as well, because I wouldn't have been given it the time that it needed. So I'm very lucky that we've mentioned him a couple of times. I get to work with Mark as an indie stunt performer, and I've done some stunts and some SPACT work. But I am also well aware that I am by no means at the level, or will ever be at the level, of someone like yourself, who is giving it absolutely everything. So I'm one of those actors that goes, yeah, I can do that, but I also very much am aware of my limitations and know when I have to pass over to someone who knows far better and is much more capable than me. So I think it's eye-opening, but also heartwarming to hear your commitment levels. And I mean, we know you're going to be there, whether it's in the next few weeks or a couple of years down the line, but you're at this level and that committed. And all I can say really, mate, is that I'm gutted, because the minute that happens, I will lose the Watson to my Sherlock. And that may sound a bit cryptic. Drew knows what I'm talking about. But so Gareth and I do some immersive theatre work together, and we play Sherlock Holmes and Dr. John Watson, respectively, which, as you've already mentioned, is a completely different kind of outlet to doing the stunt work. But just for interest sake, and for people listening and watching, what other sort of little theatre-y jobs are you doing at the moment, or do you have as kind of extra outlets and different things to keep your mind a bit varied?
Well, I mean, this is going to sound ridiculous, but I also do a bit of circus work as well. So like stilt walking, fire breathing, acro doubles. So I pick the girls up and chuck them around, and, which sounds ridiculous. I know, I realise now saying that out loud. And as well, the comedy shows, I do some with you, Sam, and I do some with the same company. We do 40 Towers as well, so I play Manuel in that one. And I just love performing. I think I've always had my heart in performing. I'll occasionally do a few singing shows, like kind of live, often like Best of Musicals kind of thing. Just it's because it's fun, and it's money, and it's fun, and it's just something I can do alongside. And again, I think it just helps me focus back on my stunts. I'm like, yeah, this is great. It's a nice little break from my training day today that I would be doing, or whatever training I'll be doing today, but I can come back to it next week and go back and yeah, I think it helps me pace myself a little bit easier. And it's just also really fun. Like, I think we've had so many laughs from the shows we've done, Sam. So
most ridiculous thing, but as you say, it's a great way to step away from other stuff you're doing and just have that moment of, this is my job. Like, not only do you get to go as you're falling through a window or running around with your ass on fire, you go, I'm being paid to do this. Equally, we're throwing insults and telling stupid jokes and doing whatever in a room full of people having some dinner. And you're like, every day you kind of have to pinch yourself, and whether it's being a stunt performer, an actor, a singer, whatever, you kind of go, I'm so lucky that I get to call this.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really am so fortunate. And as I said, like any performers who are having to work like a muggle job or something like that, there's no shame in that. We've all got to put food on the table. We've all got to survive, but at the end of the day, if you want to do this, you've got to work hard. You've got to make sacrifices. Keep pushing. It's going to suck for now, but it's not going to suck always. And if you have that mindset of, I'm going to suffer through this because I want it later, then you'll get it. Like, you have to want it, and you have to want it more than the pain it's going to be, because it would be easy sometimes, well, maybe not now, but maybe when I first started, 5-6 years ago, it probably would have been easy to say, maybe I should just get a regular job, sit there, get a proper sit down, a salaried job, something that is going to really provide, where I've got to give like 3 or 4 years of my life to this job to give me a stable foundation. But to me, that would have, 6 years of training and experience that I wouldn't have had otherwise, And yeah, I had to suffer through a horrible retail job like everyone else. Unfortunately, I don't have to anymore, but it stinks. It does. But if you have that attitude of, this is just something to get me where I want to go, and if you push hard, you will make it. It's difficult, it is, but the harder you push, the quicker you get there.
Yeah,
on that journey, and through, I mean, there are things you can't talk about, but we always wind up with a funny story, a story, an anecdote. Is there anything that you can tell us? But is there something you remember or sticks in your mind? You go, yeah, that was a funny moment, or a sad moment, or a dramatic moment, or something that we can wind up with this morning.
Or probably one of the funniest experiences. Okay, one of the funniest experiences I ever had. We were on Pennyworth, job you were on, and we were doing some action work on that. And it was really simple. It was just soldiers storming a room, basically. And one of the lads fell asleep. Now, obviously, we all know how it was. And obviously, you've all got your teacups and your water cups, these styrofoam cups. And I, you're a bit restless. You've been there all day. I saw him asleep, so straight away I come in and I put the first cup on his head. And I think, right, here we go. And everyone sees it. There's about 10 of us. And the next person gets up and puts their cup on his head. And we were stacking cups on this poor boy's head while he's out cold. And one of the ADs comes on, the crowd ADs comes in, takes one look, goes back, gets a cup and puts it on his head. And this poor lad, he must have had about 20 cups on his head by the time he finally jerked up and these cups went everywhere. And it's stuff like that gets you through the waiting around and the being cold and the being miserable. And I think that's probably one of my most favourite stories from a film set. Because you're always trying to make each other laugh and you're always just trying to have fun, especially when you're on a set with your mates, which is really the biggest privilege, I'd say. Is I get to work with my friends, and if I don't know anyone, I get to make new friends, and that always happens is people go, yeah, what should we train after this, and you go, yeah, let's go training, and suddenly you've got a new person to train kickboxing with or trampolining with, and suddenly you're making your own little short films, your own little fight scenes, and just having a real laugh and just exploring what you can do in this world of stunts. And that's the real blessing, is just getting to work with great people every day is truly just the best thing about it.
I think those kind of moments also make the outcome better. And it sounds a bit of a convoluted thing to say, but when you can have a laugh with people off stage, so to speak, but equally you can trust them fully. You have to build those relationships, because you could have the best group of stunt performers ever, but if you don't have a connection with one another, or you don't have that understanding and that belief, then you are, again, individuals. It's a team sport almost, isn't it? You can do individual stunts,
exactly, yes,
but 99 times out of 100 you are a group of people, and you have to trust that the person stood next to you is going to do the right thing or get the timing right, because if they don't, they're not just necessarily endangering themselves or potentially ruining a shot or something like that. You're all linked together. So building those friendships and that trust and those relationships is imperative. Just like we say it is for working on a theatre production or on a film as an actor, you have to have those relationships there. And I think if you're able, without even communication, if you're able to have an assistant director come in and join in the game of balance the cup on the sleeping stunty, then I think you've kind of summed it up there and hit the point where you're like, we're in a good place with it.
Exactly. And I think, he said it's a team sport, we're falling around each other, we're fighting each other. You might be, someone's riding a horse, you've got to pull someone off a horse or something. That's that you got to trust that person's going to do it safely and it's not going to hurt you, So if you're friends, you like straight away, you're like, well, yeah, of course I trust you. We had a good laugh earlier, And I think that is the most important thing, is just having a good time, often on a miserable film set. Not that film sets are miserable, but they can be. It can be cold and it can be wet and it can be miserable and long, and you haven't done anything for 3 hours and your legs are cramped up. But when you've got good people around you, anything's easy.
Amazing. Yeah.
Brilliant. I mean, Gareth, it has been very easy to meet you this morning. It's been lovely to chat. Thank you for joining, the Drewling Samantics team.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to have been here.
We'll get you back on again in the near future when you can start telling us some stuff. And you can
of course, I would love that.
You can do some proper big name drops, because I can see they're on the tip of the tongue, but you're behaving as you should.
Yeah, I got to look after myself, unfortunately.
but yeah, so will you come back on in the future and give us a bit more of an update?
Absolutely.
Hopefully we'll be able to bring you back on and you can go, I'm no longer training for the British Stunt Register. I'm training as a member of the British Stunt Register.
That would be fantastic. That would be the dream come true.
Beautiful.
It's a deal, mate. That's what we'll do next time.
Thank you very much. It's very kind of you.
Have a brilliant rest of your training today.
You too.
I'm sure you've got plenty more, as you mentioned. But again, thank you so much for coming on, mate. And we'll catch up again soon.
Of course. Thank you very much.
Cheers, mate. See you later on.
Cheers, mate.
See you later.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.
What? I mean, Gareth has to be a stuntman, doesn't he? Because I've never seen so much energy in one man. It's just
sit still.
That's it. Brilliant.
Mm.
But the only way of controlling that man is to put him on a film set and say, right, sit still because you're going to do something dangerous.
Exactly that, yeah. You're going to fall down some stairs in a minute, so stay here for now.
Doesn't need a trampoline. It was up. Brilliant stuff. But really, it was interesting to get into the kind of the mindset, because we've spoken to a couple of action folks, and it was interesting to get into the mindset of a stunty, how he thinks about it and rationalizes it and says, this is how I enjoy my life, and I think that was really enlightening. It was good, I mean, obviously bloody good and dedicated, but it was interesting to hear that side of him as well.
Yeah, it's almost like a kind of a through the keyhole, seeing the inside working sort of thing, isn't it? And on the outside, you've got this very talented, very committed person who can perform all these disciplines, but equally, it's what goes into it, getting to that point, the build up to it, the constant reaffirmation and kind of. Well, I mean, the amount of training the man does. He said, what is it, 4 sessions today?
Yes. I mean, he's already had a session of kickboxing before meeting us. Yeah. Now he's off to do trampolining. I mean, that is dedication. And
amazing and genuinely a lovely bloke. He's a very talented actor. I'm privileged that I get to share a stage or a venue with him anyway on multiple occasions. Very funny, very quick-witted. But you can see where his passion lies, and rightly so. Yeah,
very good stuff.
We have been graced, haven't we, with and it has to be said, our final guest of this season. But yet again, another superb guest. We just keep them coming. I think we deserve a pat on the back, mate, for bringing these amazing people. So.
Yeah, and we genuinely have to have him back, because there were serious reasons why he couldn't say too much, and we know that he has little things that big things he can tell us, but he just can't tell us. So you
can see it's bursting to come out, and I have suspicions on certain things, but I don't know what they are, and he's able to reveal. And equally, no doubt, his confirmation of being on the British Stunt Register is just a moment.
Got to be coming soon. Got to be coming soon. Yeah.
So we will get him back on. And and that'll have to be, mate, in a new season.
You're right, Sam. I mean, we're not quite done with this one yet, because as you say, we've had some fantastic guests on. We've had some good chats ourselves. So we've got our best bits coming up, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. So we've got one more episode next week that is just us, which we might have sort of a chat about what we've done this season and what could be coming next season. And equally, we'll do the obligatory look through the news and what's going on in the wonderful world we work in. But yeah, then it'll be doing the best ofs, having a look through all the moments of season 9 and seeing which ones came out on top for us or were most memorable for multiple reasons.
Yeah.
And then it's a break, which I think we can say we've earned one. We've been pretty heavy going this year, in fact, not just this season.
Yeah. Would you describe it as a break though? Because I mean, you're going to be rushing off, finishing your tour, rushing off to Panto. I will be finishing building, producing, casting and directing the Grotto, and then I shall be sitting there with hopefully a little bit more on my chin than this. So it's
but we can relate back to something that Gareth said, and he said as much as he likes to do his painting, or he likes to do a few bits in his sort of downtime, a lot of his downtime is training, and it's heavily related to what he does because it's what he loves. And yes, it's a break. We won't be podcasting so much for a little while, but we're still going to be doing what we love best and what we do best, performing and immersing ourselves in this wonderful world that we're fortunate enough to be a part of. So, yeah, you could call it a break. most people probably wouldn't. It's a short hiatus from the airwaves. How about that?
Beautifully put, Sam. Well,
just used up all my intelligence for the rest of the week, I think.
That's it. Yeah, that's the end of the dictionary now, isn't it? I've done that page. Yeah.
I might just be able to regenerate enough to do another episode with you next week.
All right, we'll do that then. We'll do that, mate. Yeah.
Lovely job.
Brilliant stuff.
Fantastic rest of your day. Another massive thanks to Gareth for coming on. And as always, a massive thanks to our wonderful watchers and listeners. We appreciate you more than you ever know, but we'd like to appreciate you some more next week. So please do come back for the final episode of season 9 before we get into the best ofs. So
we'll see you then.
See you then. Cheers.
Take care.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.